Got us live. Oh, there we go. Good evening, ladies and gents. I hope you're all having a fantastic Wednesday evening. I hope you all had a good Valentine's Day, whether that was at the game or elsewhere. But we are back with episode 18 of the Fanzone Podcast. Give you all a couple of minutes to get in and get listening, and of course we'll give you all the rundown as we always do. So quick reminder, we are over on Spotify. You can find us at the click of a button. You can download all the episodes at your own, to your heart's content. Give us a listen over there. And make sure you're following as well. It helps us out a lot, more than you'd realise, actually. So you can go over there, download the episodes and give us a follow. Whatever platform you're on, the same rules apply. If you're watching on YouTube, if you just hit the subscribe button, it gives us a helping hand. And where else can we go? Bolton Gin Company. If you have forgot your lovely partner's Valentine's Day present, there is still time. Get yourself over to the Bolton Gin Company and order them a nice bottle of gin. We were recommended the fruit salad gin. If that tickles your fancy, go and have a look and use code FANZONE10 at the checkout for a nice little 10% discount.
Not only if you'd forgotten the present, but if you're grafting or trying to get in the good books because you went to the match last night.
Or you want a little treat for yourself.
Or a little treat for yourself, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. That's the spirit. Literally, that's the spirit.
Literally.
That is the new catch line.
Did you say that deliberately then, Ben?
I didn't know, but well, I'm going to tell you I did.
Yeah. Just to pick up on something you said before. You said with regards to the match, Valentine's Day last night. I hope you enjoyed it, whether you were elsewhere or. Did you go to the game last night, Ben?
Were you elsewhere, Ben?
Colin's doing this thing where he just outs me on the podcast for no reason.
I'm not outing you, mate. I'm just asking the question. I just noticed the word elsewhere, so I'm just kind of like trying to put two and two together.
No, Colin, I wasn't at the game last night.
Okay.
I was elsewhere.
Grafting.
I wouldn't even say grafting. I was just, yeah, it was.
So, may I ask, Ben, what happened? Just to digress a little bit. Sorry, guys, the viewers and listeners.
We went to a nice little restaurant at the top of Parbold Hill. You might know it.
Very nice. I rumor has it that you paid a deposit before you went, not knowing that the game was on a Wednesday. Is that right? On a Tuesday, sorry, is that right?
Well, what I'll tell you what happened is I didn't realise that Valentine's Day. Well, I knew it was on the 14th, but I didn't realise it was the same Tuesday that Bolton played, if that makes sense. So Valentine's Day and Tuesday the 14th just didn't really align in my brain, and I dug myself a bit of an hole.
Never mind.
Anyway, moving swiftly on, because if the person who I took to said restaurant on Parbold Hill is watching, she'll probably kick my head in. Let's get into our post-match reactions after what was a pretty emphatic performance last night. What did you make of it? Colin, we'll go to you. I did do ladies were first last week. I did remember. So we'll swap it around. Colin, what did you make of it?
You did. First of all, I want to give MK Dons a little bit of credit before we get going with what my thoughts are, because over the past few months we've obviously seen teams come to our place and not pick up results anyway, but sit and do the usual antics and the low block, and I'm sick of hearing that sentence. But yeah, they sit in and they make it difficult for us, and they obviously don't come to play football. Whereas last night they were quite refreshing on the eye, and I quite enjoyed their approach and the way that they knocked the ball about. Certainly in the final third was quite impressive. They were absolutely useless in front of the goal, and had no clinical edge whatsoever. But I just wanted to give them a little bit of credit, because I think it's credit where credit's due. And unfortunately for them, we absolutely battered them. But it was nice to see a team rock up to our place and actually try and play a little bit, is what I'm trying to say. As far as we're concerned, emphatic comes to mind. Professional comes to mind. Relentless comes to mind. And plenty of other descriptive words I could use. Thoroughly enjoyable game, very relaxing from a fan's perspective. I thought that we did actually create a little bit of an atmosphere considering last night, which was quite nice to hear. Because obviously there was a huge amount of expectation going into that game for obvious reasons. But yeah, overall, a very impressive performance. Again, quite a ruthless performance as well. I saw that we had 11 shots on target, and of course we scored 5 goals. Although I'm not sure whether that includes Gethin Jones's because I don't think it were on target. I'm not sure. Quite a contentious one, that one. But all in all, yeah, great performance. Happy as Larry, and very surprised that we managed to score 5 goals in 2 consecutive games.
Indeed. Impressive performance all round. Ange, what did you make of it?
So I had a similar bit of spiel ready that Colin's just kind of said. Just with regards the way MK came and played. So it was refreshing for a team to come and play against us. It absolutely cements the reason why teams don't, because look what happens when they do. It was an absolute masterclass in tearing teams apart, wasn't it? And it just, I mean, Kylo I sit next to, we were just like, it's defenders. We've just been out and bought a lot of new centre forwards. we've just scored 5 defenders have scored. It's amazing. It was amazing. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It was a bit the atmosphere was funny. It was quite a quiet game, wasn't it? And I'm not sure if that's because we were comfortable and didn't need to do too much. I mean, there was what were the 177 MK fans, but 177 didn't come back from the half-time point. So that was a definite.
No, yeah.
I did feel for him. I think at one point they joined in with the "We're useless" chant. But yeah, no complaints really. And we didn't play our best. I thought they had some good. The 10 and the 12 were decent players for them, I thought. But yeah, their defense is awful.
Yeah, I think the defense is awful, but we kind of made them to look awful, didn't we? Really, to be honest, like I know that our defenders scored it by the letter. They scored all of the goals, but our wingers or our fullbacks were basically playing as wingers, weren't they? So probably the overload was just unbearable for them, weren't it? Really.
Indeed. Just paying reference to those comments. Number 10 for MK Dons is obviously Mo Isa, formerly of Plymouth. And number 12, a tricky little winger, seems to have mastered the old step over. That's for certain.
That was brilliant when he did that. And then
yeah, he's quite fond of that one. But I think his name is Lako. Not quite sure how you pronounce it, but 2 players that stood out in a relatively poor MK Dons side, it has to be said. David Green has popped a comment on the live, and he said, "Good ref. Also, he did miss the toe handball though." Which is a good point. I thought we were let off with that. I'm not sure how deliberate it was, or if it was deliberate at all, really. But we've had our fair share of those go against us.
He let a lot go, but for both sides, I thought he let a lot go.
Yeah, there were a few ricochets in that handball incident, and from where I'm sat in the North Upper, I'll be honest, my immediate reaction was it was a pen that, and I kind of still think it was, but we were 3-0 up at that point. So it's probably a bit of a moot point in it, really.
I doubt it would have made much difference to the end result, but it helped us keep that clean sheet, which could be all important come the end of the season. If you are watching along live with us, do let us know your thoughts on the game. We'll pull up your comments on screen and have a little chat about them. If you are watching over on Spotify, obviously you don't have that option, so just bear with us. But if you are on Spotify and you'd like to make the next live show, then you can indeed. We're over on YouTube, and it's at the Fanzone Pod. You join us every day after the game at 7:30 p.m. But moving on, Santos was on the score sheet again, found himself in another good position, and this time with his noggin. from a set piece. Would you
He's
believe
what?
it?
He's what? He's what then?
I'm not doing the next one.
He's having a rough time, so we're only 10 minutes in.
This Wickham episode, I'm
noggin.
not doing it.
He's noggin. He's
Noggin.
Yeah, he just very
in.
Very like someone else, so.
He hit it with his head, with his forehead, and he hit the back of the net with it. So found himself on the score sheet again, 3-2 for the Wanderers skipper. I've got a question for you. What does he need to improve, if anything, or is it now about consistency? Does he just need to keep doing what he's doing, or are there still areas of his game that need improvement? Obviously, there are going to be micro improvements that I'm sure he'll pick up on himself. But, you know, from a fan's perspective, watching him every week for the last, especially for the last game against Peterborough, he doesn't really do much wrong, but he does a hell of a lot right. So for you, both of you, what does he need to do? What's next? Can he do any better, or does he just need to keep consistently doing what he's doing? Ange, what do you think?
There's not much, is there? I think like you say, it's just being consolidated and being consistent. It's half the battle, isn't it? If you can do things right all the time, or the majority of the time, because folk are human and they mess up occasionally. So yeah, I'm going to go down the consolidate route, I think.
Carl, what about you? I think that he's not so much what he needs to improve to do better or get better as a footballer, because I think he's kind of at his peak in terms of performance, especially if he continues to add goals to his game. What I want him to do, and what I want him to continue to do, is to work and bring on the players around him. The likes of Owen Toll, the likes of George Johnson when he's back in the side, and the likes of Mbete, and so on and so forth. So the players around him communicate with him, with them, should I say, bring them on as footballers, lead them type of things. I think that's what he needs to continue to do, as opposed to improve on anything. Because, you know, like I say, if he can continue to score goals as well, which is something that we've obviously all been craving from him, then we're laughing, aren't we? And we've got a player that at our disposal that's kind of irreplaceable and certainly better than Will Aimson.
I mean, he's mastered his jump, hasn't he? So let's just get that timing of that jump.
I think the goal he scored last night was just pure confidence and willingness and determined to get on the end of it, because obviously he bagged at the weekend. But yeah, for me, that's what he needs to do. He needs to continue to bring on the players around him and lead by example in his performances. Good question, though, Ben. Difficult question to answer that. And I would hope that the people watching will be able to give their insight into what they think as well. That'd be really good.
And I'm pretty sure he thinks there's things he can improve on, because that's what a professional athlete does, isn't it? They always look to improve tiny little things that will make the game incrementally better. So I'm sure there's things.
Indeed.
Plenty of people in the chat, so it'd be good to get their thoughts as well, wouldn't it, Ben?
Indeed, yeah. Like as Colin said, if you're watching at home, let us know what you think. But Tobias has just popped a comment on that I'm going to touch on, but sort of push back a little bit. And he said, after our recent form, I'm interested to hear how you all see the top six looking come end of the season. Are we getting ahead of ourselves? Are Ipswich flopping? And will Plymouth hold their nerve? And I think best practice is to answer that after we play Wickham. So in our Sunday episode, after our game against Wickham, we'll address this point specifically. We'll save it and we'll come back to it. So if you want to hear our answer, tune in next week. And you'll do just that. I think it's
a great question, though, Tobias. It's the kind of questions that we want to be having on the chat, to be honest with you, on the video, because it's the type of stuff that stimulates our thought process and got me thinking already. The answer to the question. But yeah, I agree. Ben's spot on it. Saturday's such a big game. given the fixtures that the teams around us, i.e. Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday have got, then it's massive, absolutely massive.
Indeed. Tobias has also said on the live chat, Santos being out for a few games has allowed other players to come in and prove their worth. That happened, and I feel it has spurred Santos on to earn his place back. I like this Santos. I think we all do. It's a good point now. Healthy competition can work wonders in a squad, and it's probably something we've seen across the board with Charles picking up his performances, and perhaps being spurred on by some competition in the centre forward department, but also with wing backs. You look at Randall Williams, Declan John, Jack Iredale, and on the right side, Gethin Jones has come into the form of his life. Or perhaps that's a little bit harsh, but has played really well and given Bradley a run for his money over on that right hand side.
Can I add to that comment by Tobias, please, if possible, Ben? I made a note before we went live about players coming in and they're terrified of losing spots. And to quote Radio Manchester last night, we've got 18 plus starters in the squad, or in the match day squad, and that is exactly what Tobias is alluding to, where the players that have come in and obviously have made such an impact is making him, take his games to that next level. Which he's correct in what he's saying. But it's just interesting because I wrote exactly the same thing down in my pre-podcast notes.
Do you know what else as well? What I think, that Santos, his illness and Will stepping in, up in his game, I think it's got us a couple of extra quid, to be fair. So I don't think it's done us any harm having Will kind of having a nice little increase in his performance levels at that time. I think that might have upped his value a little bit and got us a couple of extra quid in the bank. So I'm here for it.
Absolutely. Business is a cruel old world. Louise has put a comment on and has said, is the communication better from and with Toll? Defenders seem to play better with him around.
He's amazing.
It was something that we actually touched on when Aimson was in the squad, and because there were, I think it was a post-match interview where Toll had said that Aimson was just coaching him through games and giving him that guidance that he needed, which seems to be a responsibility that Santos has took on with no qualms whatsoever, because that back line seemingly are in the form of the season and maybe even their lives. I mean, it's unbelievable the way that they're playing with such unity and a bond of togetherness that we've not really seen for quite some time.
So can I caveat that slightly? I think that what we need to do is give credit to Owen Toll as well, because obviously he's come from a different league and he's come within a different environment. He's moved, over to, the Northwest and stuff. And obviously it takes a little bit of time to bed in and get used to not only his surroundings, but obviously the team and the league as well. And I think he's come on leaps and bounds himself individually. And I'm not sure whether or not it is purely down to the players around him. I think obviously it's him. He's adapted very well, but from an individual point of view.
Yeah,
absolutely. David Green has also said that confidence is massive for any footballer. Rico, more than anyone, is proving this, I feel. There's a few names that you could put that statement to. Dion Charles is just one of them. Confidence breeds good performances, and we're certainly seeing the rewards of that. And long may it continue. And whilst we're pumping teams 5-0, I think it's pretty safe to say that it will do. But Gethin Jones as well, another good performance, I thought. Got himself a goal again in what was a good all-round performance, bringing up a partnership on that right-hand side that may outstay Bradley's time at the club, and hopefully will kick us on once Bradley does, unfortunately, leave us, which I'm sure either at the end of this season or perhaps the end of next season will do. But it's good to see Jones trying to claim his spot in the team and give it ever a selection headache, which I'm sure is one that he's relishing in. Also,
Sorry, is there any concerns over Gethin? Because I noticed he went off last night with a little bit of time to go, and I think I might have saw him kind of holding his back or his arse cheek again. Is any worries about him or what? Because I know that there's a pitch issue at Lostock, isn't there, apparently, and Cameron Jerome and Conor Bradley are a little bit doubtful for the weekend. So hopefully there's no long-standing issues with Geth.
Yeah, I was hoping he was saving him for Saturday, and that's why they were going off. But I suppose we won't know till maybe Thursday when he does his presser.
Yeah. Well, it was noticed by, ironically, one of the lads who was watching this tonight, actually, in the chat, and obviously we picked up on it last night as they were just before he went off, Gethin. So, like you say, hopefully it was just resting him.
Indeed, it could have just been a bit of tightness. It happens all the time, but fingers crossed for Gethin's sake that it's nothing too serious. And an all-round good team performance, I think. I'm not sure there was one standout player, which makes our man of the match selection a little bit difficult. It was just felt like a really well-rounded team performance. And I think if there was ever a performance that embodies what Ian Evatt tries to do with the football that he plays, it was quite possibly that one. For a long while, I've used the Wickham example where we beat them 3-0 with, I think, all 3 goals coming from the midfield. But I think this one just about tops it, playing such a high line with aggressive wing backs, and to see all 5 of that back line, albeit one with a substitute, getting on the score sheet, really shows what Evatt's doing with his style of football and what he's implementing here at Bolton. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask you all to pick a Fanzone man of the match. I think this one might be split opinion, but I think we all had a different one last week as well, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
We did. So, Ange, have you got someone in mind?
Oh, it's tough. It's a really tough one. I don't. Oh, I think. Did I go with? I think I went with Shola on the official one, just because Kyle played his socks off as well. I really struggled to pick a man in the match yesterday, so I just for he's a joy to watch. He doesn't stop. He's tricky as hell. I'm going to go with Shola.
Colin, who gets your vote?
I'm a albeit not a very good player of it. I'm a massive Fantasy Premier League fan, and generally speaking, when the player who gets multiple assists in that particular game wins man of the match, and I thought he was outstanding last night, offensively and defensively, as well as his 2 assists from set pieces. So Declan John gets my man of the match from last night. A huge asset down that left side when he's playing like that, and certainly the Gethin Jones of old. The Declan John of old. All I would say is I agree with Ange. I think Shola was very, very impressive last night. Looks like he was enjoying himself as well, playing with a bit of a smile on his face, playing on the front foot. Very exciting to watch and very much a box of tricks. And I'd certainly say he would, as long as he continues, I'm inclined to think that he's going to be pretty much unplayable at this level, that kid.
Absolutely. Declan John, a very worthy mention for Fanzone Man of the Match. We are all going to have different ones again, though. I'm giving mine to Santos. I just think the goal to set us on our way, the clean sheet, just an overall really assured performance just about tips it for me. He dealt with, albeit a relatively small threat from Isa, Leko and Kai, both all pretty quick and tidy players. And I thought he dealt with them really quite well in that central role.
With Rico, what he offers, his reading of the game is fantastic. So when he comes up against quick players like the likes of MK's last night, he's just able to read the build up in the play in that final third so well. And then that obviously he's not slow himself, is he? He's deceivingly quick, isn't he? which also helps. But again, spot on. A great man of the match show.
I tell you, we will be getting a roasting. Randall after his celebration.
That's his trademark celebration. That. Yeah.
So yeah, and do you remember when Fossey did it and Everett had bollocked him? He won't appreciate that celebration.
Maybe not one for Everett to appreciate, but I'm sure a lot of the fans
did. I did.
We have had some comments on the live chat. David Green has said man of the match for him is Shortire. An exciting performance from him, which mirroring what Ange said there. Louise has said Mbete for me. Well, I think it was him. Someone fucked up with the spare shirt. Mbete I thought was another really good performance. I think that was his first league or competitive goal. To bring on young players like that and give them that platform to play like that and impress the way that he has done is very promising. Yeah, indeed.
What?
Just it's great that as well as giving them that platform to come and play the way they are, that clubs at that top level, that those elite clubs are trusting us with their youngsters and are buying into the project that we have, the way that we play and things like that.
I think they want us to. They want the players to have a lot of the ball, don't they? You know, because obviously that brings them on as players, done it, and builds a confidence and allows them to express themselves and all that type of lovely stuff. And the amount of ball that we have when teams aren't trying to kick it out of play or keep the ball from being in play and all that is great, isn't it? And obviously that's what is attractive to these, elite clubs. I think that's a big contributing factor in it, really, why we get these players.
Indeed. Yep, you are absolutely right on that one. So the intention of the Fanzone Man of the Match was to have a unanimous award to give out to one player. However, I think we've not done that more than we have done. So perhaps the Fanzone Man of the Match needs a slight alteration to just
good job. It's well virtual.
But looking ahead to the weekend, obviously Bolton take on Wycombe away, and that is looking to be one hell of an exciting game. Both teams in very good form, just to give you some numbers on that. In our last 5 meetings with Wycombe, we've lost 4 and won 1. Obviously, that one that we did win was our most recent outing. And what a performance that was too. Hopefully one that we can replicate, as I'm sure many of us will be keen to do. But in their last 5, Wycombe have recorded 4 wins and 1 loss, which came to Sheffield Wednesday. The most notable win was beating Derby County, another playoff contender. Bolton's last 5, we've won 5. An impressive stat, obviously. 2 5-0 wins in there. So on paper, what is looking to be like a really exciting game. What are you both expecting from it? Because sometimes there is a tendency for these big games to sort of fizzle out as neither team can really live up to the pressure, and the level of expectation on the game can sort of almost lead to a feeling of disappointment. But what are you both expecting? What do you think is going to happen, Ange?
I mean, my palms are sweaty already. I'm already nervous about Saturday. And to be honest, I'll take a flat. Not much happens point from it. It's like you said, Ben, it'll be off the back of 2 5-0 wins. I feel it'll be a bit of a flat one. But I don't mind that. I'll take that for this week and then we'll get back on it.
Colin, what do you think?
I certainly don't think it'll be exciting, Ben, to go against what you just said, my mate. I think Gareth Ainsworth will make it very, very difficult for us on Saturday. I think it'll be a big test against obviously an informed side. I had noticed as well that he started the I won't say mind games, but he's started to throw a few things about already ahead of the fixture. Gareth Ainsworth saying things like it's a tough place to come and it's such a huge game and all that type of stuff. So what he's trying to achieve with that, I don't know. But
all right, Gaz, we'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, listen, they're a good side, like in their own way. Like, you know, it's not going to be an easy game. I think obviously they're going to want a little bit of a revenge because we absolutely bastard them at our place earlier in the season, didn't we? That's probably one of the more comfortable games we've been to this season. But yeah, prediction. I think it'll be a tight 2-1 either way. That'll be my shout. Yeah, and I can't see it being a draw. I think it'll be tight. I think both teams will score, and I think both teams could either nick it at the end. I think for me, Conor Bradley comes straight back into the side providing he's fit, despite how well Jones has done on that right side. He's arguably our best player from a defensive point of view, an outlet in that regard. And providing that if he's fresh and if he hits the ground running straight away, he could be the difference maker. So fingers crossed.
In terms of that selection choice, that battle on the right hand side, there's another one at the top end of the pitch. Obviously, we've seen numerous options since the January window already. We've seen a combination of both Charles, Shortire, and Kieran Lee playing in that front three, sort of two centre forwards and one, attacking midfielder. And we've also seen Shortire, Charles, and Victor playing in that three. My question to you both is, which one are you going with and why? Or do you want to give Shortire those minutes playing as a 9 or as a 10 with Lee in behind? What? It's a tough one, and I'm going to pass it over to the both of you first because I don't know what I'd do. Colin, what do you think?
I think you'll go with the same attack that played against Charlton away. I think that was evident with Kieran Lee, of course, not starting and not playing much in yesterday's game against MK. That Tuesday gives a bit of an indication. And the fact that he kept on Victor for the whole 90 minutes. Probably a combination of the fact that A, that, and B, probably wanted him to get on the score sheet as well for his own confidence and stuff. He played yesterday very well, Victor Adebayo. I know he didn't score, but he got an assist for Toll's goal, and he was involved in Williams' goal as well later on. And I thought he ran his kahunas off, and I thought he deserved a goal, to be honest with you. He played well, and I think you can tell he's just trying to gel with Dion, and I think it will come. It'll definitely come because he's just in a team now where he's going to get more opportunities. But we're a completely different ball game to Burton Albion, so he's having to adapt in it. Gone off on a tangent, but to answer your question, I think it'll be the same starting three that played against Charlton. Can I just ask as well? Louise has made a good point. When you asked us about the predictions, I always say that every game's a must win, and I've been saying that for the last few weeks, and it is, and she's absolutely spot on. Need to win, keep the confidence high for the semi. Indeed. So yeah, I agree with that. It's a must win again. They all are.
It is. That was something I was going to touch on and just ask, what do you think? Is it a must win? There's a lot riding on this game heading into the Papa John's semi-final. And a really tough run of fixtures in terms of playing Ipswich and Sheffield Wednesday. But Ange, what do you think the starting three at the top end of the pitch will be?
Dion, Shola, Sex Kieran. Definitely.
Good choice.
I can't call him anything. Even at the match, I'm like, come on, Sex Kieran. That's just what I call him.
It's a name that's stuck.
It's stuck.
I bet Sheffield Wednesday fans still think he's sexy.
Yeah, I reckon they do.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I agree with everything Colin said. I think that's how he set up yesterday with Sexy Kieran playing against Wickham. Yeah,
absolutely.
And I did really feel for Victor as well. I was absolutely willing him to score a goal to flip that confidence, because I didn't think he did anything wrong. I thought he played really, really well, and I was dying for him to bag. But next time.
knowing how detailed Ian Evatt is in his approach, it wouldn't really surprise me if Victor knew he were playing all the game against MK, then he knew he weren't starting against Wickham. Kieran Lee knew he were only getting 15 minutes against MK, and he knew we were playing the whole game against Wickham. Because what's the old saying? Failure to prepare. You know.
And he did a little article, there's a little interview, did a little piece in here about Kieran, and that's how he's got to treat him. He's cotton wooling him, and he'll not play very much one match because he'll save him, and they know how to get the best out of him. And that's you've got to do that with a player because he's amazing. He's just brilliant. His knowledge of the game and his decision making is sometimes, especially playing alongside a player like Shola who's coming into the game and he's new, and that's invaluable having him alongside him on the pitch. I think.
I think from what I know about Wickham defensively, I think they're short a little bit in the defensive areas, and I think they're not the quickest. So I think if we concentrate on that high press, put them under, we could have a little bit of success. That's why I paid reference to Conor Bradley earlier on, because I think his pacing behind.
Him and Shola.
Yeah, but they're hopefully playing as well as they did yesterday on the left as well. It could cause them some real problems, and I think that's probably what the thought. I can't see Conor Bradley not playing on Saturday. I'll be honest with you, despite the fact that
unless, like you say, he's not quite.
Well, yeah, I don't know how much to believe that either. Really, Ange, to be honest.
Oh yeah, true. It could be again. It
wouldn't surprise me if he went when both of them were in the squad against Wickham.
He did say though, didn't he, that they're not. It's not necessarily the redoubt for Saturday. But yeah, we know what he's like with his mind games. We love it.
It'll be interesting to see how the team lines up. That is for certain. And whoever gets in that front three, I'm sure will impress. But just touching on that point about Vic, last night, I was willing him on to score. He did everything else right and tried really, really, really hard to get himself on the score sheet. Almost sometimes felt like he tried too hard, but it's one of those. The defenders just sort of took the piss a bit and said, "We're having a turn this week," and neither Charles nor Vic really got much of a look in. I think Charles was denied by a really good save from there.
Oh my God, those saves!
It's funny enough, the two good saves were from our two centre forwards.
Yeah.
Can we talk about James Trafford's save as well in second half?
Oh yeah.
Because the concentration on that lad to be on it and make a save of that ability, such a nothing game for him as a goalkeeper, just shows like how quality that kid is in the sticks. Because that's to get down so quickly like he did.
I didn't even realise he got his fingers to it. I thought he'd missed it completely. The guy.
Yeah.
But...
You can see why, because we were a little bit like that from the north upper. But when you watch it back, it just highlights how good of a save it was, and that's not even in real time, really, is it? Watching it back.
No, he certainly does not switch off, and that's all credit to him. He's a really talented young man with a very promising career ahead of him. That much is for certain. Wickham is going to be a very, very tough game, and one that I hope the lads will relish and look forward to.
Ben, what's your three?
My three. I would go. I'm going to mirror what you both said.
Oh, come on.
Sorry. Yeah, it worked so well against Charlton, who are a really good team.
And Betty, Santos, and Gethin Jones up front for me.
Absolutely.
Mix it up a bit. Ben. Yeah, Trafford number 10.
I just think it works so well against Charlton. It's hard not to naturally gravitate towards those three players, and hopefully they live up to the expectation that we've all just put on them. But I'm sure they will. It's going to be a tough old game, though. Wickham's biggest loss this season was actually, believe it or not, to us in that 3-0 defeat. Okay. So we're on a bit of a record-breaking spree, or at least setting new records that were around for quite a while. So can we beat our own record and give them a 3-4, 5-0 thumping? It would certainly be nice to see. But it's going to be a tough game. I think there is one thing slightly leaning our advantage, that Wycombe don't really have much of a goal scorer. They don't have an out-and-out goal scorer, so to speak.
Sam Vokes.
5 goals this season.
Is that all he's got?
5 this season. Their top goal scorer is was Anis Mehdi, who I think is now out on loan at Bristol off the top of my head. So in their current squad, they have Lewis Wing on 7 goals this season, Gareth McCleary on 6, and Sam Vokes on 5.
So they spread the goals about a bit then, don't they? Is that right?
It would seem that way, yes. Yeah. They have scored 43 goals this season. Bolton have scored 48. So it would seem that they have a pretty even spread, but it might, playing against such a tight-knit defence, do you think that could work in our favour, them not having that out-and-out goal scorer that we seem to have found in Charles? Colin, what do you think?
Working in our favour, not having an out-and-out goal scorer, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I just think they'll just make it tight game. They're going to play off the set pieces, aren't they? And just play the percentages and basically make it really difficult for us. It's just I think we've turned the corner though. From obviously historically, we'll be thinking, oh, we're away from home against a team who's pushing for the playoffs. How are we going to do it and all that? But I think we've turned a bit of a corner with the away fixtures. I think they've installed themselves a little bit of confidence. Certainly, the Charlton game was the start of that, weren't it? But yeah, I don't think it'll make too much of a difference, Ben. To be honest with you, mate.
What do you think? Do you think it'll work in our favour, them not having that goal scorer, or do you think it'll not really have much of an impact on the outcome of the game?
I don't think it matters at all. I don't think it's going to affect it one iota. I think it's going to be tight. It's going to be fine margin. It's going to be tight, and I'm going to be sweating to death for 90 minutes.
I think there'll be a lot of people joining you on that. But touching back on that must-win feel that this game seems to have about it, is it a must-win? Obviously, this game could go a really long way in not securing our spot in the playoffs, but putting us in good stead to keep that promotion challenge very much alive.
It's a must win because we've still got aspirations to get that top two places. Because they're not going to win every game towards it between now and the end of the season. There will be a slip up or a hiccup along the way. We're still going to play Sheffield Wednesday, so we have to win for that reason. That's why it's a must win. Nothing to do with the playoffs. The playoffs they'll sort themselves out. The mindset has to be towards getting them, trying to close that gap on them top 2 spaces, and of which we have done over the last month. I think we're now 6 points away from second. I think a month ago we were like 14. So just need to keep going. In my opinion, you can't give up until it's mathematically impossible.
Ange, what do you think? Do you think it's a must-win?
Oh, I agree with Colin that I'm not going to say must win because I just think it. But if we did win it, I think that would catapult our confidence like astronomically. I think it would be an amazing win. And I think it would do loads for everyone's confidence, including some of ours. But it's hard. For an automatic, it's a must-win, isn't it? For a playoff, it's probably not.
Well, for the playoffs, it's a go there, get a point, come on, happy as Larry, because obviously they're in good form. But
But for an automatic,
you can almost guarantee that's not what Everton's going to be going. He's going to be approaching that game.
Oh, he wants to win every single game. Of course he does. He won't be in that game if he didn't. Why would that be your job if you didn't want to win every game?
Well,
we know
I don't know. There's certainly some teams that we've come up against that don't really want to win the game,
and that's why they're terrible.
I don't know. Plymouth came to our place and didn't seem too keen on being on the front foot. It's one of them. Maybe that says more about the caliber of players that we've got and the talent that we have and the way we're capable of playing. But
so looking at the fixtures at the weekend, just focusing on ourselves, Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday got MK Dons at home. Chances are they'll win that.
Yeah.
Plymouth have got Fleetwood at home. Chances are they'll win that. However, we've both seen last night that MK Dons got anything about them, they'll be hurting after that game last night. And offensively, they look all right. There's every possibility they could go there and cause an upset. Every chance. Because they'll be like, you'd think, if they want to stay in this league, they'll be like a bit of a wounded animal. They could catch Sheffield Wednesday off guard if they're having an off day.
I've got faith in Fleetwood, me. And
in the same breath, exactly what I was going to say to you. Fleetwood are going to be going there. Everyone will be writing them off. That's exactly what their gaffer, the Celtic captain, whatever he's called, Scott Brown, will be saying to them.
Right, yeah.
They'll be going there with nothing to lose, and we need to be able to capitalise if, and it's a big if, that materialises. And that's why this game against Wycombe is a must-win game.
It is worth noting that Fleetwood are seemingly notorious for taking points off the top teams. Their most recent
and they beat Jeff Weds in the cup, didn't they, as well?
They did. They beat them in the cup, drew to them in the league, I believe. They beat Charlton and they've beat Peterborough. So they're a team that, it feels almost silly to write them off.
Plymouth's home record's just ridiculous, though, isn't it?
It is at another level, but we've seen it before. Fleetwood are not a nice team to play against by any stretch of the imagination. And off the back of 3, what will be for them really, really good wins, then confidence will be high in camp and could very well work in our favour. I have less faith in Sheffield Wednesday slipping up, given their record of just conceding goals in general. They just don't do it.
True. That's true.
Their stats are astronomical, but football is a weird old game. You never know what's going to happen. So we will have to wait and see.
You just have to be ready and just make sure you're winning your own game. So in case they slip up, them hypothetical scenarios that we've just painted occur, then you're ready, aren't you?
Yeah, there's nothing else you can do other than concentrate on your own games and hope other people do you a favour. But as long as we keep on winning, like you say, Colin, that probably actually counteracts my theory of maybe every game is a must win, isn't it?
And
then we don't have to worry.
I've been saying that for a few weeks now, and I'm going to keep saying it until it's, like I said before, so it's mathematically impossible for us not to be able to get that second spot or even first spot, depending on what happens. But no team's infallible. We'll lose a game between now and the end of the season. Could very well be Saturday. It makes me laugh how like the Plymouth and the Sheffield Wednesday fans and whoever else are saying, "Oh, we're not going to lose a game." Football, anything can happen. Chances are you will lose a game between now and May. What we in or June, whenever the season ends. We're only in February. Do you know what I mean?
There's still a third of the season to go for those
majority.
teams.
Exactly.
Football is a weird old game, and you do never ever know what will happen.
At least we've not got VAR anyway. That's a good thing, isn't it?
Exactly. If you'd have said to me 2 weeks ago that we'd have beat 2 teams 5-0 on the back and Santos would have 3 in 2 games, I'd have said, "I'll have some of what you're smoking." But clearly things happen. Football is a funny old game. But I think that just about rounds off today's episode. Before we let you all go, however, we do have one last announcement to make. And it's the same as the one at the start. Whatever platform you're on, give us a follow. It really, really does help. Leave a like on the whatever platform you're watching. So if you're on Spotify, follow the podcast, give it a download. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, hit the like button. And if you tap the bell, you'll be notified every time we go live, and you shall never miss an episode. Twitter, there's always stuff going on there. Our match day competition is in full swing. The prize pot now sits at £30. If you want to get yourself 30 quid richer on a match day,
You'll
come
be
and pop over to our Twitter.
You'll be nicking 30 quid off my dad as well, which is good. He's the reason why the pot keeps rolling over, isn't it, Ben?
It is indeed. We do appreciate that. But also, on a final note, Bolton Gin Company, go and get yourself a bottle of gin. If you use code FANZONE10 at checkout, you will be rewarded with a nice little 10% discount. If you do happen to place any orders, let us know when they come. Send us a screenshot. Tag us on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you are, Facebook. Tag us in it, and we'll go and have a look, and we'll share that. And we'll rate your gin choice out of 10.
Ben won't be needing to graft buying any gin because he were all right. He did the deed last night with his missus, didn't he? So there'll be no grafting from Ben's perspective.
No.
You can buy me a bottle if you want, Ben.
Yeah.
Paul, if you're watching this, did you fancy sending us some free ones? Well, anyway, thanks for watching. We really do appreciate it. And we will catch you all Sunday, 7:30 for a post-Wickham podcast.
Drink responsibly.
18 plus, terms and conditions apply. Drink responsibly.
Another 3-point podcast, please, on Sunday night.
Fingers crossed. Absolutely. We'll take care and we'll see you all in the next one. Bye.
Cheers, guys.